Dave.
Hi.
Hi. Right now it's me and it's Suzette just called the meeting to order. I'm expecting Christine, so.
Okay.
But she started the meeting, so we're getting ready to go here.
Okay, good.
Okay, we'll start if there's any comments from the public on agenda items. Go ahead.
Where are you?
Not working. Sue Furlong, West Rock Hill Township. I've got a couple of questions. Number one, is there anywhere where there is a list of donors, how much they donated, and offsetting costs?
The best I can answer right now is that there are the list of all the people that are sending in for the Build It for Bud campaign. There's a list of people that have sent in pavers. We have, on tonight's agenda, there are the first 4 advertising agreements which are listed in here. They'll be up for the board has to approve them, and they've approved 3 sponsorships so far. One for the scoreboard that the board's already approved, one for the main entrance, and one for the side entrance. So those are the ones that actually get approved. There's a list of money that are coming in because we have to keep that recorded because it's an incoming revenue. So there is a list.
And will that be made public?
It's probably like anything else for the right to know.
So if I donate $100,000, nobody's going to know it?
No, because we'll accept that. The smaller pieces that we're sending in, the sponsorships, if you're donating, like for the Green and White Club, all those people's names are going to be up on a plaque. So the thing is, that's all going to be part of the whole process. So the bigger donors are going to have their names either on the green and white, on the wall on the plaque, or on the side of the buildings for that. So the bigger ones are there. And also we talked about having it in the programs, so that when like football program's going to have a list of the people that have donated, the bigger donors, not the smaller pieces, because that's only fair to them if they're making that kind of contribution. So that's something that we're going to do because we hope that it grows more people to be able to, want to give to this whole project.
Yeah, I would think it would.
Yeah.
And what about the costs? Where are they being tallied?
Well, right now, the costs that we have $500 budget.
Yeah, and Joe reported on that.
I think we spent $150 of it so far. So he's given us an update of how much money that we're doing. So we've taken in much more than that at this point. So we're, at some point, at the next meeting, I'm going to put together, once we get these contracts, an estimated number, actually an actual number for sponsorships, for the advertising, for the pavers, and then for the Build It for Bud campaign. So we have all those, and I'll give that next month. So I'll put it in the agenda. Actually, I'll list it there for the next meeting.
And what about Joe's time? Is that being allocated to this project?
No, and my time isn't either.
We don't care about your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Dave, stop laughing. It's not funny. Thank you.
First, we'll have the status of the Rams on the Ridge campaign. Joe's going to talk about advertising.
Yes. As you can see, further down on the agenda, we have 4 contracts out right now to the folks who have expressed interest in advertising. They would be for 3-year commitments at $1,050 each, and we continue to recruit as many of those advertisers as possible. And we do have an agenda item to talk about how we.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Sponsors?
Sponsors? Sponsors, we're still at the 3 sponsors we have so far. We are going to start expanding the search, for people that may be interested in sponsoring the press box. We have the 2 team rooms that are still available. The update, if you want, let me just throw it in for the Build It for Bud campaign because that's a sponsorship. Jeff says the number is probably closer to 85% of the funding he needs to have. His goal is once he has commitments for the whole thing, then we'll have the board will approve a sponsorship, because that's what you have to do to get somebody's name on the building. Yep. So once the goal is to get that done, hopefully no later than June, because basically a commitment just like the other sponsorships, and then we'll know that that's going to be $100,000 coming in over 10 years. And from that comes the cost of, the plaque that goes on the wall. That's part of the proceeds that come from that process of collecting money. So that's where we are so far. We're going to start expanding and get a little bit further. I know at some point we're going to talk about other ideas once everything is finished this fall, other opportunities for people.
Okay, do you want to just touch on the flagpole memorial while you're on?
I would be glad to touch on it, and actually, if I can have John, if you'll come up here and have a seat, that way you can turn on one of these microphones so you can talk about it as well.
This is a promotion?
I actually don't think so. Hello, how are you doing? Dave is on by phone. Dave Christine has just joined us.
Okay, terrific. Hi, Christine.
Hi.
I have worked with John, looking at designs. Part of what we talked about was, and his question was, part of the main entrance was proposed to be expanded to be able to cover a sign, and the flagpole is part of what's already in the project, but the other part of the gate entrance coming in, the inside was going to be part of what was going to be used for the veterans, and then the outside of the wall would be, probably we're proposing to put the names of the Green and White Club. Obviously, it's not fair to have the veterans group that's raising funds to pay for the whole wall, since the district will be using the other half. So that's part of the, let's see, one of the agenda items for number 8, is that we're going to have to make a motion and have the board, approve the extra $13,000. It's actually not to exceed $13,000 of, what would be add-on for a contractor. So we'll have to deal with that. Yeah, that's not the exact, I have the wrong term. Change order. A change order that will go in that process for $13,000 approximately. It'll come out of your contingency. Obviously, $6,500 of that will come back when they raise their funds. And when we raise the funds for the people that are giving the sponsorships, for, not the sponsorships, for the donations for the Green and White Club, that goes to offset that as well. So the money will come back, but you have to have a place to hang the plaque on the inside and on the outside. It has to be designed so that it actually looks like it was not just a separate thing. I think there was a community member that asked when this was going to be done. April's probably the appropriate time to get that done. So if you're okay, the board members are okay, then I'll need to put together a motion and have it on for the April 27th?
I believe so.
27th agenda. So the board would have to approve that. It's a change order. It comes out of contingency at this point until the funds start coming in, then they get replaced with funds coming in.
Bruce, you mentioned that the names for the Green and White Club would go on it, and that the money donated from those Green and White donors would be used to pay for the wall. But could it just be any donations?
Yes, it could be any of them. Hopefully that at the end of the day, you're going to look at, you brought in $2 million and it covered all, this much of the project. So you're correct. I'm just saying that I anticipate money coming back in, but you're right. We can use the money for anything else that comes in to help offset this, because the advertising signs don't have a cost to them. They're actually, the district is making $1,050 minus the cost of the sign. So those are things that actually we're not building. It's not like the press box. It's not like the scoreboard. So you're correct, Christine. Any funds coming in will go offset it. The goal is obviously to raise our $2 million. So let me turn it over to John, because John has got more of the specific things. He had a different design that he showed you last time when we talked about how it goes up on the wall, and actually we're clear about how it all works. Part of it is in that picture that you saw on the inside. We need to move the flagpole back a little bit because you don't want it so tight that people won't walk inside and read the names of our Pennridge students that actually gave their lives for the war. So I have something to hand out for each one of you that John had me do, and then at this point while he's talking, I'll hand it out.
Okay, what Dr. Bard's handing out to you is the first, and it's a sketch. And he brought out a very important point. This is going to be one of 2 3x5 black granite, black granite plank. This one has the line and then the verse, and then the American flag. And it was very good pickup on him. It says Pennridge graduates. Not all of these individuals graduate from Pennridge. They were students here. So we will have that name changed to students. I thought it was pretty good comeback when I said it's not etched in stone yet.
Fortunately.
Right. Because of...
Can you speak up a little bit, sir? It's difficult to hear you.
He has the mic on.
I understand that, but
Okay.
it's still difficult.
The other, well, speaking of next, there's going to be another panel the same size that will have a total of 13 names. And your assistant principal here, I can't think of his name.
Mr. Hagan? Scott Hagan?
Yes, I believe. He is working on getting all the names.
Mr. Hagan.
Okay.
He's working on getting all their names. We do have the names. We're trying to get the rank. Now, the ones that are on the Vietnam Wall are no problem, because there's a history for those. Not all of them are Vietnam veterans. The two from Iraq, we have their rank from the plaque out here, down the hall here. So the cost to so far is $10,572 for its two 3x5 panels that will go on the wall there. And yes, there will be room, unfortunately. I'd like to say no more wars, but there'll be names added, I'm sure. Hopefully not in my lifetime. We're looking at approximately $17,000 in cost. So far, without doing any begging for money or going out for money, we have $4,500 raised. That is solid. The individual who started all this, Brent Gulick, unfortunately, he has trouble getting up here from Washington, D.C. He was just up here a little over a month ago. His mother died. He says, I'll have some money. Well, I'm sure he was going to put some money in before, but what we have held off on doing anything as far as raising any funds, not knowing what the costs are going to be. It'll be much easier to put out an email or something and close this to give the people an idea of what they'll be seeing. And if I could impose upon Joe and his, he's a public information officer, I believe.
One of the things.
To write something that would be pertinent and to the point. My wife says when I do this stuff, I get too wordy. But that's pretty much where we stand on it from our end. And if this is going to be part of your 10-year program here, I think we've made a pretty good start at the 4,500 without even. Personally, I'd like to see it done in a year or two. Whether that's a realistic thought, I don't know.
I think it's very realistic. One of the things we talked about was once I have the names, I don't have everything done, and we found that not all of them were graduates, but they did attend. So we're trying to find out where they are. Some of them we have trouble getting their ranks, but Mr. Hagan at the high school did a great job. He actually went on the Vietnam site and found names for ranks, and other ones you can do gravestones because they weren't all there as well. So part of the people that were missing in action and not accounted for, it was a terrible war anyway. But once we have this, then what we would do is we will reach out to the family, because the families will probably want to contribute to have their sons recognized as well. So I don't believe we're going to have any problem getting this within a year. This will probably be the easiest set of money that comes in because people want to help out with this. So I'm with you. I don't think it's going to take us that long or be a problem at all.
The only problem that we have is reaching out to the families. Have to realize that we're now approaching 40, 45 years since a lot of this happened. How many of those parents are still around? I mean,
family members, brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
This is my time. I mean, the thing is, you know, I lost classmates in the war as well. So if it were my family, you know, my brothers and sisters I'd obviously be very willing to do what it takes to memorialize and have a tribute to, you know, a brother or sister that was killed. So I think we'll be okay. We just need to keep doing our research. And if we can find these things, Scott Hagan is my researcher. I'll have him find the other things as well.
One name that I said was missing, Tom, and right now I can't think of what his last name was.
Pasquale.
Pasquale.
He's on the list.
He's on the list. I did reach out to his widow, who was remarried, living in the district. To me, it was hard for me to do that, although she was a year behind me in high school, knew her quite well. I didn't know if his name was missing because they were never contacted. He wasn't killed in action. He was killed in a training flight. He was a test pilot training with the RAF, or if the family did not want it. And she was surprised to even know that, I guess she wasn't even aware that his name wasn't on any plaque here, and she'd be honored to have his name added to the list, and she said she would make a contribution. Now, the other detail that I found out in talking to her, we recently had a musical. Her daughter is the person who directs Samantha, and I don't know her married last name.
Brannon?
Brannon. She is your director. Now, have you ever heard her sing?
I want to apologize for interrupting you. My son's being inducted in National Honor Society.
Go.
I got to run.
Been there, done that with my two. Long time ago.
No, I haven't heard her.
She has a very beautiful soprano voice.
Maybe she would be willing to sing.
That's my thought, to sing the national anthem. Of course, you'll have me bawling like a baby then. But I mean, you know, and when I was talking to, she told me about her daughter doing this, and I didn't know she was doing it here at the high school. And I didn't say anything to her at the time, and after I hung up, I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be something to be able to do that? And then if we're still looking at September the 11th, it's going to be a tough night for some of us there.
Well, that looks like it's September 11th is going to be a home game, so it's the second game, so we can, I don't know if the board is looking at doing a dedication of everything else the first game, and then just have the other things separately, or, you know.
We haven't talked about it at all. I mean, so.
Build
yeah,
it
I'm sure
first,
that'll-
and then talk about
Well,
that.
last season, it was the high school principals planned the event, so I would think they would
Well,
be
you know,
planning something, so I would say,
I'll get Gene involved, good idea.
yeah, they were the ones who planned it, and they got the students involved in, you know, planning a lot of the activities, so.
Let me talk to Gene, I'll talk about the first game of the new buildings.
Yeah, was it Scott Hagan who did it? Yeah,
Yep.
he organized it, yeah, right, it was and they came up with the, right, well, they had the skydivers, they had all those things, and they had somebody from Papa Yoder's family,
Right,
and from the Hellman family. But he also came up with that, you know, honoring the past and creating the future or something, so.
What is Samantha's last name?
Brannon.
Brannon. Might be talking to singing.
I don't know. I don't know if she does any singing anymore. I just remember her from the high school choir one time when they came to our church and knocked my socks off.
We're going to tell her it's your idea when Scott Hagan talks to her.
You know, good. Then I won't be totally to blame for it. But that's just a thought that I had after talking with her mother. I think that's pretty much where we are, other than, you know, oh, one other thing is, you know, we see this panel here. Should this be titled in some way? Should it be called the Pennridge War Memorial, the Pennridge
Once it's done, we need to bring the final thing back to the committee so the committee can look at it, maybe we'll get some ideas, but let's have both sides done. We're still cleaning up the names, but the thing is, they need to look at it, they need to approve it. And when the board adopts it, they're gonna have to approve, or at least make sure that someone has looked it over, so it has everything we want in there, but I would say yes, this committee needs to review that.
Okay, and somebody said, why make it Pennridge Memorial? Pennridge School District started in 1954, after the Korean War, after the World War II. So it actually, before 1954, nobody really knew what the name Pennridge was. There wasn't nothing.
It was Selkirk High School.
Oh, I know that.
And there are memorials there at Selkirk High School.
Which honor
World War I, World War II, correct.
Probably the Korean
Probably
War.
Korean War, yep.
There was Hilltown High School. There's some sort of a memorial in Booming Glen because that's where Brent Gulick grew up for those veterans. So this would be the first, how many were war, how many were skirmishes, but I mean, it would be, first one would have occurred during the Pennridge jointure.
So are we going to put, we're going to add something onto the webpage for the capital campaign? Like we have to build it for the campaign, or we're going to add something for the memorial?
We'll work with that.
And if you can get that to me, Joe, in the form of an email, I will get it to my classmate who handles the class of 64 whenever we have a reunion or anything. I mean, she can send a blast email out, which will hit probably 200 people, many of which are not in the area.
On this, we'll make sure that we put down the target dollar amount, because we don't want people thinking they're contributing. Because I think this is going to be the quickest one once we get it out. But it'll be this, they have to send it in the same way so they can be tax deductible. Right. You know, because it's coming to the school district, or if it's a business, that they can get a write-off, and we make sure we provide that opportunity. We've done it for all the other opportunities as well. So Joe can work with you on that, and we'll just put a separate link then on the Rams on the Ridge campaign.
And that's, I mean, it's entirely different raising funds now than it was 10 years ago, because you can't just go to the bank and say, we want to set up a fund for this. The banks can't do it anymore, but the school district can. So, and that's going to make it so much easier. It's nothing no expense to us is doing it, and it's already, expensive for everything else. It's just including one more line item. Anything else I can answer for you?
The other thing is, when, hopefully the board will approve that section being done. Once we have that done, when we go out and push a little bit harder for the Green and White Club, we can at least let people know this is where your name or your company's name or wherever you're dedicated is going to go. So it'd be easier to actually get, I think, on the other side of the wall, the outside, not where the memorial is, to be able to help us in the continued development of the campaign.
And this is down the road yet for when we actually get to the point where we do have the plaques and the wall. The designer of the plaque needs to meet with the builder of the wall so that they know how to recess this properly into the wall and affix it to the wall.
Yep.
Nothing else, I'll go home and eat dinner. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, so we finished all of item 2. We're on to item 3.
No.
I think we need to go
Jerry,
back.
did you give an update on the pavers?
No, I haven't yet.
I think that's the only one we didn't do on number 2.
Yep. Yeah, well, as far as Green and White Club, no movement on that. I wouldn't expect that really to generate a lot of interest until many of our other opportunities are exhausted. So if people have a choice between an advertising sign or a Green and White Club, they're probably going to take the sign. But eventually we'll get to the point where that will be the opportunity to support the program. So I'm not too concerned that that hasn't generated much interest yet, because there are other things that are taking attention away from it. As far as the pavers are concerned, we've sold 20 pavers so far, including 4 12x12s. The rest are 8x8s.
Mrs. Jarley, oh, I'm sorry. Mrs. Jarley and Mrs. Schmidt came up with an idea of trying to get information out to parents of graduating seniors that they might be interested
Good idea.
in a graduation memorial for their child.
Yes.
For the pavers. So that's something that wanted to make sure that I mentioned it. Because it sounds like a great idea, a great opportunity
It
for
is.
parents.
Yes,
So
it is.
who would you send that?
Yes.
Do you do all the Blackboard
I
Connect
can do
emails?
Blackboard Connect through there, to
And
just high school seniors.
Okay.
So if you can draft something, a message that would go out, and let me share it with the members of the committee and send it out to Suzette and Christine and Dave and look it over. But I think that's a great idea. I think now we're done with 2.
Okay.
And 3.
All right, so you already talked about the Build It
Yeah.
for Bud
Yeah,
campaign.
he thinks he's at about 85%. I said the goal is to get all that done by June so that the board can actually approve the sponsorship agreement with the Hollowog family, just like we did with the other
Okay,
groups.
and then they could, so then when it's built, it could go with the name on it.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Which would be nice.
And I did ask Mike Spatafora to make sure that he recommend the size for the plaques for all the buildings, actually all the structures, because they're not all buildings, and plan for them and get back to us so that we don't have to do thinking about it or do something after the fact, because you have to have a set of smooth stones to be able to connect these two, so you don't have a rough stone which creates opportunities for water and ice to go back and push things in and out. So once I get that back from him, then I'll share that with everybody. But I'm assuming we'll try to have a meeting in May
Yeah,
to get more information. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then fundraising for the weight room?
For the weight room equipment, Jeff couldn't be here tonight because he has an away tennis match. So I don't know if he's going to be able to make it. He's going to ride the bus back. But he did say that the idea for the specs for the weight equipment just came in yesterday, but he hasn't had a chance to look at them. So he wants to be able to get a picture and price list together so that when we go out and ask people, they see what the cost of the equipment is and they actually see what the piece of equipment is. But once again, he doesn't think that's a problem because that's within a lot of price range for a lot of businesses, and they'll be able to list their name, or families too, that they sponsored this piece of weight equipment for their room. So he just doesn't have it, as it just came in, so hopefully he can share it with us with the pictures and no later than the next meeting, because he wants to start working on that as well.
Yeah, so and who's going to design the sign for, I imagine in the, once they get the Build It for Bud campaign reaches its goal, I guess then the sign, there'll be the sign, the sponsorship sign will be outside
Correct.
the weight room. But then there's going to be something inside the weight room with all the people who donated.
Yeah, we'll
right?
probably do something, because a lot of those end up being like the real heavy-duty plastic, so they can go up on the wall and mount it for once, and we can add on top of that. But if we get it all done, we'll just do an inside sign to put up there so that the people who use it down the road can know who donated the equipment. So that'll be up on the
Right, so
inside.
there'd be one sign for who donated to the building,
Correct.
and then another one
Correct.
for who donated the
Yeah,
equipment.
the sign on the outside of the building, where when you walk around, whether the building's open or not, will have, who it's dedicated to, just like the main gate, the side gate, and the,
Right.
I guess in the weight room at this point. And there's already going to be advertising sign on the scoreboard, so that you can see that it was by First Purchasing Bank, whatever their new name is.
Oh, yeah,
And they
okay.
merged with somebody.
Okay. All right, the next item is outreach to board members and district employees. So we thought that we would send letters to people in the district to participate. So we're working, I'm working on creating a letter for the board, and then
Let me do one for the, this is one where the more people involved, it's going to be the better, because the thing is, I know that the Teachers Association had asked, what can they do for part of the process, so we'll bear it off of your letter. I'm going to write one to the people in the district administration to see if they want to have an opportunity. I can let the Teacher Association write something for theirs, and I'll talk to Lance Strasser. Once you have a template, we'll just try to make them all the same, but it really ought to come from their leadership. That's how we raise money for the American Cancer, the United Way. We have their different organizations that they are members of send letters out, so it's not just the board always asking for money or somebody like myself asking. So if you will do that first, then I'll mirror your letter.
okay. All right, next item, outreach to businesses and alumni. So I thought that we could create send a letter, well, businesses, I don't know if we have emails, but to send a letter in the mail to businesses asking if they want to advertise. And just to stay within the $500 budget, when I talked to Dr. Brevard, we had talked about maybe doing around 150 businesses.
Mailings. Emails are free if you, I don't know where Joe is on the list. Is your mic on?
It is now.
Email list.
Right. Well, we have two opportunities through the Pennridge Chamber and the Upper Bucks Chamber to get the lists either way we want them. Either a database or of addresses or an email list. So my thought was to pick out the top 150 businesses that we think would be interested in advertising and send them a letter. Then we can follow up with emails to the others.
Well, an email too, so we could have two different emails. One email written to the people who got the letter, and then another email to just everybody else.
Exactly.
Okay. Or, I mean, they could be the same, it depends on how they're written.
Well, you got a letter a week ago, and we'll be considering it. The other ones will be, here's your opportunity.
Okay.
So you will develop the letter?
Develop that letter.
And then if you can share it out with us, because then we'll need to buy, paper and envelopes and stamps for that, so. That's, what we have, we're so good, we're still within our $500 budget.
I'm thinking that might be a good outsourced project where we can get the letter, a personalized letter, the envelope, and the postage all in one shot. So I'm going to investigate what that would cost us.
There are places to do that, I guess.
Yes, mail shops, letter shops do that all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes not in that small a quantity, 150 is pretty small. But, and there's at least two in our district that I think do that business.
Oh, okay.
Probably would be willing to help us out.
Well, that would be good.
Okay, so do we need to?
Well, it's in our budget, we're okay.
Okay.
I'll get a cost estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, how does it work? Like, do you have to, if it's, because it's small, do we have to get quotes? I guess we just have to get 3 quotes?
No,
No.
it's well under $15,000.
Okay.
It's well under 10,000.
Well
So
under
it's basically, it's well under 500. So it's a small amount to do that. So the only thing we would do is if we need to actually increase, if we spend the budget, then we need to, add more money and have the board approve another X number of dollars to that. But money is coming in now, so it's not like we don't have any money. We started with the board giving us $500 seed money, which has now been replaced by the money that we've raised so far. The money the community has raised so far.
You get real quiet when you're talking about money.
Yeah, I can't even hear you
We
guys
can't
out
hear you.
here.
Thank you. I'll talk louder just for you.
Thank you.
I said we have $500. Can you hear me now? $500 was original our budget that was the board approved. That money now has been, we have now raised well more than $500 through this project. So if we need to go beyond that, then we would come back to the board. So that's to add another 500 or whatever we need to our budget. Right now, the budget really is going to be just for mailing and for the envelopes and letterhead that we need to buy. But Joe had a different idea to have somebody that can do it all, so he's going to investigate those prices.
But before that, I heard you say $5,000 is a small amount of money.
No. He was just saying it's under certain, under 15,000, under 5,000, it's under 500.
There's a threshold in the state law where you need to get quotes or go out to bid. And I said, we're not even at $500, so that's what that was about. So it's something we don't need, we do not need to go out for bids or quotes or anything else with that kind of money. It's just a small expense.
I just heard 5,000 and I was confused about 500.
No, it's just thresholds for quotes and thresholds for actual going out to bid.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, so Joe will get that information, write the draft. All right, and then for the alumni, Dr. Brevard and I had talked about, he said, I think at one of the past meetings, you had said that you were, like, people were looking through yearbooks, but I thought we could look, just start filling in with people that we know from different classes that are still involved in the Pennridge community, and start there and say who is the contact person who sends out the emails for your class, and start with those people, and then then we can start filling in all the years. And,
Correct.
Yeah, and that way I think we'd have more accurate information than by looking at a yearbook.
No, and I think this was a great idea you had. So what we have, I took your idea and I put down on paper, we'll just start filling in from the first class year. So you have 1953 class year, and then we'll try to find a contact person, phone, and then an email. And we'll just, like you said, start filling in people we know. It's probably not going to go from the start to the end in any kind of order, but we're ending with the class. It goes through 2015, but we're probably going to stop at around 2008 because 2009 up there, they got college debts or they're probably still in college. So we really need to talk to people who actually are out and are working. So I'm less worried about anything after 2008. But we'll start looking, once we get a name, we'll just start filling it in on a spreadsheet and see if they can help us spread the word. In my class, it's not the president or the vice president or the secretary that sends out stuff, because I get them from Greenville High School too when they are building things and they want to have funds. But it's somebody who's actually stepped up and they said, we'll be the one to communicate with all of our class members. So it's none of the officers. So if we can find someone who will do that from each one of these years, because we'd like to have every class year, sponsor a bleacher or two. I mean, that's something that we've already paid for. That's actually money come in that replenishes the capital reserve. So this is a great idea. So we'll just start working on filling in names.
Okay, so we need to create a template.
We need a template for them to follow so that they're on message and it's consistent. Absolutely.
Right, and then they can personalize it.
If they need to.
Right. They should be the one to sign it, but we'll prepare the message for them. So we just need to start filling in who our contact people are, and maybe we start even advertising on the Build It for Bud campaign. Are you interested in being a contact for your class, or do you know who the contact person is for your class? And then if we forward it to them and have it all done for them and have their name, all they got to do is just forward the email.
Right.
I think this makes it easy for them and us.
Yeah. All right, and then I guess who's creating that letter or that template? I mean, a lot of them are going to say similar things, so we just have to.
I can do the alumni letter because it'll be similar to the business letter.
Yeah, because I would think of asking, you had mentioned Tracy McGinty might be interested for her class here.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we can get the first 5 to 7 people, then we can create it and say, what do you think? So let's let some of the contact people help us out with this.
I'll let Tracy draft.
Oh, Tracy is an English teacher. Yeah, but Tracy would know other people. She also taught a lot of kids. So
Right.
she might know who would be a contact person, or who to say, if you talk to this person, they will let you know who their contact is. So I think this is a great, we'll just fill it in as we get names. That's a great idea.
What year did Tracy graduate?
72.
72, right, and then she taught at Pennridge.
Correct.
Right, and now she's retired, so.
Right, but she would
Okay.
she'd know a lot of people in the community.
All right. Okay, so the next item are advertising agreements, and I believe we have 3. Oh, no, now there's 4.
There were 3 when I initially did the draft of the agenda, and since then A&T Chevrolet has their sign in. There's one other one that's working on it right now from, I forget who it is, but if they have it on time, then I'll just send it and let the board approve that as well. So I have 4, and there's one that they're working on an agreement right now. And these are they're all developed by our solicitor. We don't have, we're not going back and forth. Our solicitor said, this is what it is. They're paying all $1,050 up front, because the thing is, it's a 3-year deal. If they want to extend it, we'll need to work on something down the road. If you want to keep your same sign, we can probably do it at a lesser cost. But if you want to redo the whole thing, part of the reason for doing 3 years is you get a sign, and there's a cost for the district on the sign, so it's got to come out of that $1,000
The life expectancy of that sign might only be about 3 years.
Well, I would want a new sign. It wouldn't matter to me. I would want a new sign up there after 3 years. Even if I could renew it at a cheaper price, people are going to say that sign looks old. If it's advertising, you want a bang for your buck.
Are any of these double signs? I know you said some people might want a sign on both, some of the visitors.
These are all single so
They're
far,
single
but we're
signs,
encouraging people to look at the opportunity to put a sign on both sides.
The contract that goes out gives them the option, doesn't it, to do 1 or 2 or 1 or.
It's for one contract. If they want a second sign, we'll give them a second contract. So we'll reach out. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it. I don't want to get too pushy at the beginning, but there are people that said, it might not be bad to do it on both sides.
I know McDonald's was especially interested in 2 signs.
Well, then, if they are, then let me talk to Ralph and see if he wants to have a second sign, and then just specify that one on each side. I mean, I would want a sign that the home side could see, and also one for the visitors, because we pack the field up there.
Yeah, yeah. And are they going to, people, if you get in earlier, is there any incentive about sign placement? Or is
We're
it
starting from the middle and working our way out. So,
Okay,
so the earlier they get in, the closer to the middle they're going to be. We're just going to start working out. So these 4, if there's 5, the first one's going to be in the middle, the second 2 are going to be next to it, and the next we're just going to keep working our way out to the goal line.
Okay. All right, that's great that we have 4
Yep.
already, so.
So probably, Joe, we should probably reach out and see if any of these people, especially McDonald's, want a second sign.
Okay.
And then this will be on the board agenda?
Yes, because the board has to approve it because we're accepting, where it's a contract.
Okay. And then is there anything else about those, the advertising agreements? So that'll be, then the board will see the contract when the.
Correct.
Before the
Yeah,
meeting?
it was available if they plugged on it, if they clicked on it right now.
Right.
So if they have on the SharePoint, so they're all there. They're all the same exact template, they're all done by our solicitor. The only thing I hope is I have another 1 or 2.
I guess one question I have is when we start renewing these and you're retiring, who do you think will be in charge of this? I guess we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Well, I'm trying to make sure that I have, records of everything when things are being done, so people will know when the contracts come up. But our solicitors also have approved that, so we'll try to put something together, so like a tickler file that, even though the agreement's now, it's not 3 years, it's going to be 3 years from when the sign's placed up. Our goal is to have them placed up in September of this school year, so they'd be up for 3 years. So they need to replace it for the 2019 year.
I'm just looking ahead. I think we need some sort of system that, in 2 years or 2.5 years, that these people get reminders, your contract is expiring, do you want to renew? So that's what I can just see, the kind of thing that, depending, we don't know who will be on the board, you'll be, you're retiring. Is there a way that we can make sure that this doesn't get forgotten about, that sending people reminders for renewals?
Well, even though Kathy Johnson's retiring, let me talk to her, because this isn't the only thing. We have software agreements that expire. We have leasing of equipment and computers that expire at a certain time too. So I'm going to ask her, what do they do? Because it can't be dependent on a person being there. There's got to be something that people know to renew. So let me ask her what she
Right, but
does.
the software people are using, the things that people are using, the sign is just sitting there and nobody will miss it if it's gone,
It's making money for us.
I know, but so I just want to make sure that
Yep.
there's a system
Let
set
me
up.
work on something.
Lorraine has a nice spreadsheet set up for the Holomock
Yeah,
funds.
that's how we'll do
and
this
I
too,
think it's
but somebody needs to
signs
make
should
sure,
do the same thing.
it has to be more than one person, so someone else knows what's going on, so.
Because then if Lorraine
Yeah.
Right.
retires.
Well, she will at some point, we all
Right,
retire at
yeah,
some point.
everybody leaves at some point, so this isn't anything that people are using, so,
And this is new, so
and it's.
we need a system, and it has to have a double check involved for renewals or removal.
Why don't you put an expiration date on the sign?
That's not a bad idea. We can put it in there.
It's a 3-year sign, and it must expire at a certain date, so
Yep.
just,
Yeah, or, so if they wanted to keep their sign, you could have the sign when it was posted. I don't know, or an expiration date. I don't
Yeah,
know.
an
We can see
expiration date, we can just, take it down and just say, this is your sign, it's done, and give it back to you, because we don't need it, just doesn't get put up for Pennridge. So maybe we just return it after 3 years.
Right, unless they want
Yeah.
to, renew, yeah, so a system for renewing.
Renewal or removal.
Yeah, or
Yes,
removal.
I have written that expiration date on the sign.
Yeah, I guess you can see what other people do also. But yeah, I just want to make sure that's in place before we start putting them up, because I can just see as people change and it could get overlooked.
Deep
Okay.
Run and the other local, youth organizations only do them 1 year at a time, so at the end of the year, they take them down. We're looking for a longer term commitment to get, some return on the cost for the sign as well, so We'll develop something.
Right, and then I can just see if, you know, somebody starts next year, and then we're gonna have all these different, it's gonna be
Yeah.
different years.
Correct. I hope that we get more people every year, so we'll have to deal
Right.
with that.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
All right, the memorial wall, we
talked
talked,
about that.
we talked about that, so that will be a board, in an item on the agenda for board approval.
Correct.
To have this change order, that it would be $13,000, half of the, well, I mean, it's all going to come out of the Rams, out of the campaign, but half of the cost will be assigned to the War Memorial.
Which will now be part of the
the
campaign.
Veterans Memorial.
Correct.
Right, which will become part of the campaign as well.
They will be raising money themselves for the actual plaque that gets mounted with things for the wall.
And half of the wall.
Yeah, and half of the wall. The side, the two plaques that go are on them completely.
So he said somewhere around 18,000.
Yeah,
I
total.
think he said 17,000.
17,000 total.
Right, 10,500 for the panels, and then 6,500
Correct.
for half of the cost of the wall. Okay, and then the last item, update on the accounting for funds received. So do we have a total number?
I talked to Kathy, she's gonna work on putting all the numbers together. But the way it works right now is everything goes in for the campaign for the Rams on the Ridge. There's a separate accounting for the Build It for Bud campaign, which goes in. Jeff has a separate spreadsheet which has all the names because he's gonna have to remind them every year. That's gonna be on him. Just like, it will be on the bank to make sure they have their money coming in. So the agreement's gonna be with when they reach their goal of knowing they have a commitment for $100,000, which is $10,000 a year. It'll be up to the family to do that. We're trying to help out by keeping a spreadsheet, and we share that, Lorraine shares that with him. So that's a separate account. All the other funds go into the capital project, I think Kathy puts them, but our categories we do, we're keeping track of pavers. We have nothing yet for the Green and White Club, and we have the sponsorships that were separately approved by the board, and we're keeping track of those people that are paying over a longer period of time.
Right, so will they get letters each year as well?
To remind, oh yeah,
Yeah.
correct. And we remember, we did agreements with them too, so they actually have a contract.
Right.
And if they don't follow their contract, their name comes off. They don't get their money back, but their name comes off.
Is that possible on, I understand on the structures, there'll be a plaque that's mounted, but on the scoreboard, is that?
It's a center section that has a name, and that can come out.
Okay, that could be changed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Someone else could take over the sponsorship if they do that. But what they want to do is they are actually looking to pay this off in like 3 to 4 years as opposed to 10 years. They want to get their money out and have that paid for, which is fine for us.
Okay, so do we have a total amount?
I will get that for you.
Okay.
I said I'll report on that. It was a question I think that Sue had asked at the beginning. So we'll have all that.
Before the board meeting?
I can give it to you at the board meeting. Let me get what I have, and then I'll put down what we have already. I'll put down for all those different pieces, and then I'll include, if the board approves the signs, the advertising signs, how much extra that is being. So I'll break it down into different categories so we have all that. Then you can just announce that at the meeting.
Okay.
Because then we'll know how far we need to go toward our goal of the $2 million we're looking to raise.
Okay. Dave, do you have any questions or comments? Are you there, Dave?
Dave, do you have any questions?
First today.
I think he's still there.
Sounds like maybe you just listening.
Didn't you hear Florida got chopped off?
No, I hear somebody breathing back there.
That's funny.
All right, but I would say that's
Okay.
a no.
All right. Any public comment?
There's no microphone.
Okay, it's fine. You can,
We can hear you.
yeah,
I would, yeah.
you can just go there and just speak.
Just
about
there
it.
and
We'll
pretend.
keep our procedure.
I'm sorry I didn't make the beginning of the meeting, but I am interested in accounting as to what gets collected and how much taxpayers have to pay towards signs and plaques and all the other overhead in doing doing this?
Yeah, well, I think, actually, it might be a good idea that each time we have a committee meeting, maybe we can just have an updated accounting of, you know, what has come in and what, you know, what costs there have been. And I think that would be, once we start, it should just be simple. If, I mean, somebody's you know, Kathy does the accounting, that we could just share that at each committee meeting.
I'll just put that under number 9, funds received to date. The cost for the plaques comes out of the donation. The cost for the wall, it's going to be part of part of the money that's being raised. So the issue is, there really isn't anything.
But what about the Huey Engineering? Is they going to do some design work? Is that going to be gratis? Or is that going to be?
I'd have to ask them. The only thing they're doing extra is making sure, and it's part of what they're doing, is whether they have rough block or smooth block where we want the signs. Yeah. The ad alternate that we're going to do that we're recommending to the board for the wall, for the inside where the Veterans Memorial is going to be, and the outside where the Green and White Club, that's going to be, the board's going to have to pay for that, but that money's going to come in. Half of it comes back from the memorial group, and the other half when we get more donations to go in. So we have to have a place to mount the plaque for the people that are actually doing donations.
But this is not a one-time affair. This goes on and on and on and on, so somebody has to be responsible and do accounting, et cetera, et cetera. So there's continuing expense as far as I can see. And I just would like to see that it doesn't cost me for you to remove my plaque. So
well, we're
if
looking
you
for
remember,
you to donate money, so we actually, I'll protect your plaque. If you
when I give you that,
you're donating for a plaque. That's great.
I'm happy to. Remember, you're going to remove it after 1 year.
only if you default.
Yeah. Well, but see, what I'm saying is somebody has to keep track of that, and
right.
That costs money for somebody to do that. If somebody's keeping a spreadsheet or somebody's keeping accounting, you know what I mean? It's something that somebody has to do. And
well,
there's
yeah,
always.
I believe the one time that when Mrs. Johnson came, we talked about the, what do you call, like the specific costs are going to be, you know, attributed to the campaign, but we're not going to get into dividing up people's hours, you know, by like how many minutes they spent.
You're right.
No.
I'm just concerned as a taxpayer that it doesn't become a position in the administration.
Oh yeah, no, it's
It's another thing that I do, and whoever replaces me, it'll be another thing they do.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff is, I mean, I don't work 8-hour days. I couldn't get my job done. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, it gets done along with everything else.
Okay.
My hope is that when Bruce retires, he becomes a.
He'll become a consultant. See, and it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us
he's a
extra.
He'll be a volunteer then. He'll be.
He won't be volunteering. There'll be some stiffing involved. So
No,
look,
he's
he already's got it figured out. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, just leave it where it is. Sue Furlong, West Rock Hill Township. I have a suggestion.
Okay.
If you estimate that the sign cost X amount, and installation of that sign is X amount, and a little bit of overhead, maybe 10%, that nobody's sign goes up until that amount is paid. Because if I promise to give you $5,000 and you run out and you front me on the cost of the sign, you put it up, and I never fulfill my obligation, now what do you do? So until they pay the bare minimum of the cost of the sign, the installation of that sign, and maybe a little bit of overhead for the business office and, you know, that type of thing, the sign doesn't go up until that money is received.
Yeah, we are requiring payment up front on the signs before anything gets done.
Okay.
So they're paying 3 years.
All
up
3
front.
years up front.
Okay, great.
We're not going to spend time chasing for $350 a year.
Okay. I have another question. I think I understand what you're doing, but I just want to clarify. You are not going to directly contact alumni. You will contact, let's say, the class president, vice president, or treasurer. You will not be reaching out directly to the alumni. Is that correct?
Right. Our thought was that, right, we would find a contact from the class and ask them if they would send something, you know, and that's usually how universities do it. They get people from the different classes to ask their classmates.
Well, the reason they do that is because of privacy laws. The fact that I'm an alumni of a certain place and I give you my email, I want to know, you know, when is the home football games and, you know, when are this and that. I'm not asking you to give this out to people, even members of the board, who are now going to solicit money from me.
Yeah, I wasn't, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, so you will not be directly contacting any alumni?
no.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be effective.
Well, it wouldn't be effective, but like I said, I know of situations where, well, I took a course at Penn State, and I asked the guy, you know, do you ever contact these people to make sure that, if, you know, this information is actually useful on their job? And he says, I'm not allowed to because of privacy. He said, if they want to call me back, that's great, but I can't outreach to them. They signed up for a class, not to be solicited for information. So I was concerned about that. Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, well, so we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave, we're adjourned, I'm hanging up.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right,
See ya.
thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Back.